Rod McNicol has spent the last 45 years photographing the urban life here on Smith Street in Melbourne. A couple of years ago, I was lucky enough to have my portrait taken by him, and ever since I've wanted to come back and get to know him and his work.
Hello.
Hello.
Come on through.
It's been a few years. Oh my goodness, how are you going?
It's good.
Oh.
It's been a while.
It has been a while,
Yep.
and look who greets me, Uncle
Yep.
Jack Charles. Oh my goodness.
He used to walk through that door and say, "Hi, big fella," and continue on owning.
That's a beautiful face for portraiture, isn't it?
Yeah, we go back a long time, long-term friendship.
And tell me about these two photos here.
They did an original series of portraits of my peers here in the 80s. And then I came back to that work 20 years later, reshot the same people, same framing directly into the camera, same wall 20 years later, and then paired the images together.
Wowza.
One of my friends who I'd done the original photograph of, but he died during that period. And I wanted to find some way of speaking to him no longer being there, to make it part of the actual series. I had the photograph of him on the left, and on the right-hand side I had the brick wall. In the end, that's what awaits us all. So I didn't want to just talk about that aging process. I wanted to quietly talk about the fact that mortality sits just behind that. One of the guarantees in life.
For people who are not familiar with Melbourne, what is it about Smith Street that you love capturing?
It's probably one of the most progressive areas in times. It's been a very tough place to live, but this particular little pocket, it's got a reputation of its own. This sort of gamut of life that exists here, that's what I love about it. I wasn't interested in photographing celebrities, but I was happy to work with life that was going on around me. Initially, a series of my peers, fellow artists, fellow photographers, poets, performers, and then I started to look at some of the subcultures as they were happening around me.
I want to talk about how much of a beautiful experience it was for me when you took my portrait. I was a very tired mum of toddlers at the time, because I think I asked, do I have to smile? How do you want me to pose? And you said something along the lines of, no, it's okay, just rest.
Yeah.
And that's what I did, and it's such a signature look.
I always aspired to those portraits from very early on in photography. Those 19th century portraits where the person had to sit there and quietly look back into the camera. And what I loved about those photographs, those sort of gauche, self-conscious stare back into the camera, was that, to me, it provided such a very direct, powerful, quiet look at another human being. You're actually removing the sitter's ability to perform, but you are very much allowing them to be themselves. In a way, I was almost deconstructing the mugshot.
Because it has a mugshot-esque quality to it, but there's remarkable strength in the ways people are looking down the barrel of the camera. And because some of the people you do photograph are often overlooked or erased somehow, they're kind of saying, I'm here, see me.
You look back at the total body of my work, which is fairly modest in size over the 45 years. It's very unusual for an artist to stick to such a slightly obsessive structure to work and hold that structure all the way through. This studio has been part of the process too. And this studio, I've loved this place all the way along. And I sort of called this place my industrial cathedral. It's got proportions of a cathedral. In some sense, the different series that I've made over the years, it's like a portrait pilgrimage that I took from life around me. I like to think of every portrait that I've made as a little quiet bell ringing out from that cathedral.
Standing here in this beautiful space and just thinking of the history of what's been documented and recorded, I think about the impacts of gentrification and how it has very real impacts.
There's a building permit gone through and been acknowledged, and it's sort of pretty much accepted now this place is going to be demolished, which you can't imagine what that does to me.
No.
I've known for some 18 months now, and I still reel from the idea of it. How I'll cope, I don't know. The only solace I've got is if this place does go, that I'm leaving a book behind as a record of the time that I've managed to make use of this place.
What's it like for you when you reflect on your ongoing career as a photographer?
Ongoing career, I think my ongoing career is as limited as this building. There's nothing wrong with acknowledging that life has a span, and mine is much nearer the end than the beginning. A bit like my long, loved time here in my industrial cathedral. Nothing is forever. I'm going to leave behind this little sea of humanity, quietly looking back at the world.